Greetings and welcome back to yet another daily run, and today we're playing as Kane. And you know that daily is gonna be a good daily because the first item room contains technology too, and I actually decided to pick it up. This item is pretty detrimental in many situations because it does decrease your damage by 35%, which is the biggest downside of this item. But what it also does is it makes you kinda shoot in the straight line, which means that you can get up in some very awkward spots because you don't have that much DPS because of damage reduction, and because you kind of have to stay perpendicular to all enemies. It's hard to avoid some shots or attacks that some might have, and that just makes it a bit awkward to use. And that's why I usually would never pick up this item, but today I was feeling a bit frisky and I said, let's do it. And if you're gonna pick technology too, Kane is the worst character you can do that on because he's literally missing one eye in the game. And if you don't know, shots in Isaac usually work like that you shoot from the left eye and then the right eye, left eye, right eye. And Kane doesn't have one eye, which means if you pick technology up as any other character, you would still have your normal tiers at a slightly reduced speed and of course reduced damage, plus this technology tier. But with Kane, you only have this technology 2 tier. That you see on the screen right now, and that's kind of detrimental because, like I said, it does increase your DPS even more. But still, I decided to pick it because we need some variety and variance in these games. If you just skip every bad item, I think things can get a little stale, a little too fast for my liking, and that's just how it goes. What I also like, when you pick up these items that are usually not very good. Like in this situation, we have technology too, and we don't have a way to kind of shoot tiers, and we really like tiers because you can angle tiers and you can use them to knock back enemies or something like that. And I'm very happy we got Little Steven here. Of course, getting the Big Steven, the damage up, would be better, I think, in the long run. But Little Steven is actually pretty useful because he does deal some damage, and he does have that homing capability to kind of help us knock enemies back if they're rushing us or something like that. And I just like how items that are usually not that good become good when you're put into these situations, like we are in one now, because I did pick up technology too, and we don't have knockback, and of course getting Little Steven, which would usually be just bad, is actually pretty good in this situation, and that's one of the lovely things about Isaac, how sometimes things work together even when you don't kind of expect them to. Either way, we're on our merry way to the basement too, and we encountered so many tinted rocks. It always sucks when you see so many tinted rocks and no bombs, but luckily the sack here does contain a bomb, and probably one of the worst golden chests or worst tinted rocks. It just gave us 2 pennies and a dream ruined. That's what it gave us. But thankfully, still, because that bomb was free and we only used 1 key, getting 2 cents is not too terrible because we are at 5 cents now, which means that the next floor has a possibility of an arcade. And that's always great, when you get to 5 cents, you usually want to be 5 cents when you finish the floor because you really don't want to take advantage of those arcades that give you coins, maybe items like IV bag or even blood bag can be pretty useful sometimes because it does increase your speed and gives you more health. Range ups are useless with technology, so I just skip it. And here I encounter a very fun situation. I did something pretty stupid, You can play the Devil Beggar twice, and what ends up happening, I try to play him twice and actually die. Whoops. The margin for how many times you can play him is very thin. It's like you have to play him right one after the other, and if you just take a half a second, you're gonna die. You're gonna get hit twice instead of just getting hit once. And what I do end up doing is I do end up actually missing that window of invisibility and I die. That's embarrassing. But like always, if I die in a stupid way or early on, I just decide to do a practice run like I did with this one, and I actually managed to play him better this time. I just kind of, I don't know what happened, I just kind of got distracted, I guess, or something. And this is what happened in the end, I just... It's a stupid death because it's very preventable. Like, if I just didn't take that time to play him, or maybe if I used my bombs or went to the curse room faster, I would have gotten some bombs and then spirit hearts or something like that. But yeah, this is how this happened, and sadly, things like that happen, What messed up with me is that there was Curse of the Unknown for the first 2 floors, and I was kind of thinking we had 3 HP, even though I know Kane has 2 HP. But because I did so far only, I didn't see my health, and I was just in that mindset of, you know, I can play it one more time, you know, it's not a problem. And then I play it for the last time, and I end up dying, and not a fun thing. But I'm so glad I decided to actually stick out and play a practice run. Like always, you know, when I do practice runs, when I die on a regular daily, I try to mimic it so it's as same as possible. So I take the same items, you know, open the same secret rooms and things like that, so I can actually continue from where I left off. Because we do manage to find some coins, I do end up going to the shop and buying Mom's Purse, which is a great item because it does allow you to hold 2 trinkets, and that can be actually pretty useful in dailies. I like that Afterbirth Plus, the next DLC that's coming for Isaac, maybe in like a month, or till the end of the year at least, will contain an item that will allow you to kind of stack infinite trinkets, and I think that's gonna be very fun. But as it is now, we can only have 2 trinkets at once if you do have that Mom's Purse. And I'm glad we take it, because there are some really strong combinations that you can actually use. This treasure room contains Ludovico, and I was thinking, you know, I should take it just for fun, because I do like Ludovico just in general, and because if you're being silly on this run, might as well do it. But the synergy, or can you call it a synergy, didn't exactly work how I expected it to work. What ends up happening is you don't shoot in the direction anymore with the laser that you press the keyboard or the button in. So that means if I press left, I'm not gonna shoot left. What's gonna end up happening is I'll just move the tier, like if I just had Ludovico, and the technology shots will actually start shooting in direction relative to you and the tier. So that means if the tier is on the right side of my character, I'm gonna shoot to the right, and if it's on the left, I'm gonna shoot to the left, or if it's up, I'm gonna shoot up. So that means that we don't have direct control over our tiers anymore, or our lasers. Well, we do, but it takes just so much longer to change direction, it becomes very unpractical to actually shoot with our technology tiers. So that means that I have to end up relying on my Ludovico tier. But remember, we did pick up that 35% damage down from picking up Technology 2 earlier on. So that means that our tier is not dealing a lot of damage. Not at all. And we're stuck in this situation where we kind of have to balance everything together, like where we shoot a tier and how we use our technology shots to kind of get the most DPS possible. The good thing is, if we do manage to get those 2 synced up or lined up, that means that we have the tier and the technology shot on the same character. We actually do deal some pretty decent damage, but you know, when you have to focus on like 3 things at once to hit the enemy, what ends up happening is that you lose focus of your character, and then you start getting hit way too often. And yeah, so at this point, you know, the game is like, okay, you know, I gave you everything you wanted, and because you decided to take it, I'm gonna mess with you just a little. And then rooms like this with charging cats just end up being so tedious, not impossible, but just so very annoying to deal with. You'll see the frustration you encounter here as well, but thankfully Mom Fight is okay to fight with this combination, even though it's not like the most optimal thing. But because we do have 4 targets to shoot at, you know, on every side of the screen and the foot, our technology tier does end up making a pretty significant difference here, even though our Ludovico tier is not that strong at all, because remember, we don't have any damage ups except Magic Mushroom. But that's not, you know, that significant, I guess, in the end, in the long run. Another good thing about Technology 2 that I was kind of banking on, that it becomes very good with Lump of Coal, because Lump of Coal is a static damage increase over range, and it does synergize with Technology 2, and because Technology 2 fires so fast, that technology actually ends up giving you a lot of damage in the end, and that's how what I was kind of banking on. But sadly, you know, Krampus did appear in this fight, but we caught the Krampus's head, which is not the item, of course, we needed. What ends up happening in Boss Rush, I come in and I just see the Epic Fetus, and I'm like, okay, I need to try this, because at this point I'm just wondering, you know, this is getting so ridiculous. I just wonder how much more ridiculous it can get. And of course, you know, things don't go as expected. I expected maybe a bit more crazy synergy, but what ends up happening is that simply the tier that we had from Ludovico ends up getting replaced with Epic Fetus. And remember, still, even though it's dealing a lot of damage, it's still reduced because of Technology 2, and that just goes to show just how much of a bummer having Technology 2 is when you have like these synergies. that work well together. And what ends up happening, you know, your damage gets reduced by third. So that means that, you know, you're doing 35% less damage, and things just end up not being as fun as they would if you had full damage. But what can you do? Now we made our bed. Now we have to lie in it, and it's still not, like I said, it's not too bad. I just do wish that Epic Fetus would maybe have a bit more fun synergies with items that maybe sometimes you wouldn't expect. Here I was thinking, which item do I take first? You know, in the general, I don't think it matters which item you take first. If it took Guppy's Tail first and then the Pact, we would have an increased. So we had 1 heart and 4 spirit hearts, I think, and we took the Pact first to get 2 spirit hearts, and then we took the 3 heart deal for Guppy's Tail, and that ended up with 3 spirit hearts. But if we did it the other way around, I think we would got 1 more spirit heart. But why I decided to take the Pact first was actually, the reason is that if you run out of red hearts, there's a chance that the deal actually stays as red hearts. So that means that if you don't have red hearts, you can't take it. And I felt at that point, getting a bit more damage with the Pact is more important than just having more chances to get coins with, not coins, but golden chests with Guppy's Tail. Even though, you know, we do have Mom's Key, which increases our drops we get from our chests, I still felt like it was a better decision to go for damage, because we did have like 3 hearts left, and I did plan on fighting Hush. Maybe not the best idea I had in my life, but that's what ends up happening. And actually pick up Bumbo here, and because we do have Mom's Key, we just gain a ton of coins. And at this point I'm considering, I have a Temperance. Should I just kind of play it a bit to kind of get my Bumbo to higher level? What I end up deciding to do is just blowing the machine up, and actually I got 15 cents from it, and that allows Bumbo to transform into his 3rd form. And if you don't know, Bumbo's 3rd form is actually very useful for fighting Hush. The main reason is that he has very good like pathing, like he sticks to enemies very well, especially Hush. Even when he goes underground, Bumbo ends up following him. And because we have this awkward combo where we kind of have to aim with our technology and our explosions and things like that, it's a very nice way to kind of have that passive damage multiplier. And I just can't believe that we actually turned Bumbo into his 3rd stage. This the same floor we actually found him, and it just goes to show just kind of how absurd this run can get sometimes when you're playing Isaac. This room is just so frustrating sometimes, especially if you have something like explosive tears like Epic Fetus, because, you know, it takes 2 shots to kill them, and if you just had tears it would be much easier, like I said, because we would be able to knock back them and we would be able to kind of control who we shoot. But because we have Epic Fetus, first you have to shoot the tear, and then you have to wait like a few seconds before the bomb comes down. And when it does come down, they still go into their 2nd form or their goop form, which you have to shoot again, and that takes, you know, a few seconds again. And if there's 4 of them at like the opposite sides of the room, you kind of can't hit all of them at once. So when you just kind of get through, the other 2 are gonna get you, especially in like small rooms, where you can dodge very, very well, and that's just what ends up happening, and you know, that's fine. But those guys can be pretty annoying, especially early on, and with items like Epic Fetus. Epic Fetus does have that problem sometimes, because especially with enemies that split into more enemies, you just have to shoot so many times, and in those situations it actually becomes a very unattractive item to have. But just in general, it's I think, you know, I remember back in the day it was considered to be one of the best items, but I think, you know, with time, it's actually, especially with new rooms that got added in Rebirth and Afterbirth, things got a bit more hectic, and there are more different enemies in Epic Fetus. I think can be a detriment often. Well, not a detriment, but just annoying to use, because you do end up hitting yourself so often, especially with enemies that require multiple hits. It just takes so long to fire your shot. It just becomes very hard to do that in like an optimal way, I guess. We're just finishing out the floor here, thankfully, because we do have that Epic Fetus and explosions. We can find secret rooms and second secret rooms without using our bombs. And because of Mom's Key, we do manage to get quite a few consumables, and it's how I finished the run. Because, you know, this is practice mode because I died while trying to play the Devil Beggar. I would end up in the 38,000. I want to say I have 38,000 points, and I would have actually ranked up in about 20th, which is much better than I expected. I guess lots of people didn't even bother playing this one because, you know, it does kind of go weird when you pick up Ludovico. But yeah, with that said, thank you for watching, guys, and I hope to see you next time.